All right, go ahead and finish up. If you guys are still working on them, continue working. We're going to go ahead and move on though. As Andy said, my name is Laura Shively. I am the graduate assistant here for competitive sports, and this is actually my 6th time participating in volleyball training because I started my freshman year a while ago. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me after training, at practice games, anything like that. So starting off, we're going to go through the general intramural stuff. So for anybody to play intramural sports, you have to have a UNCW 1 card. If they bring their driver's license, even though it is a valid ID, we do not accept that. They have to have a 1 card. Thankfully for you guys, when you're doing indoor volleyball, they have to have their ID to get in the building anyway, so they should have it. It'll be a little bit more tricky out at the gazebo when we do outdoor volleyball, but that is a requirement. Teams will check in with our sports assistants and supervisors unless for some reason the supervisor is dealing with an incident and maybe the sports assistant's running a little bit late. We may ask you guys to fill in. That's why we're going through this procedure a little bit. When you first see players walk on the court, you need to check them for jewelry. And this consists of earrings, bracelets, anklets, if you see them, watches, anything that you would constitute jewelry needs to come off. Obviously, if they have, I don't know, a belly ring, we can't see it, we're not gonna, ask them to pull up their shirts and see. So it's all visible jewelry. That does not mean that if a girl has her cartilage pierced and she decides to pull down her hair to cover up that cartilage piercing, that does not count. That needs to come out as well. So any exposed jewelry. Any question?
Can we?
No.
Okay.
So that is part of, I think Andy went over it earlier, but no. Because our participants can't wear jewelry, you guys can't wear jewelry. This is the same reason why we require you guys to wear athletic apparel, because we require our participants to. The only jewelry that we allow our participants to wear is a medical alert bracelet, and that's for if they have like seizures or if they have diabetes, but it has to be taped down with the medical alert showing. That's something our supervisor should take care of, so don't feel like you are going to have to walk up to every participant with a medical alert bracelet and hound them about it. But if you do see it, make sure you do bring it up to our supervisor. And for any jewelry, it is your responsibility to be the 3rd line of defense to get the jewelry off our participants, because they should walk by our supervisor and sport assistant before they come in. But if some still slips through, it's your job to make sure they take it off. This is what our score sheets look like. In volleyball, we don't worry about numbers because we don't require participants to wear jerseys because they're on either side of the net, so it's pretty easy to see who's on either team. But we will have them put their last name, their first name, their student ID number will go right here, and they are required to sign this, because if you see right here, this is a waiver for them. If they do not sign this waiver, we don't let them participate, because that's saying if they get hurt playing intramural sports, they will not sue us. So it's very important that they sign this, and we will put at the end final score, sportsmanship, which I'll go over at the end tonight, and then we'll put the winner and circle whoever won, and our office assistant later on the next day will enter this in, and that's how we keep up our stats through the night. Any questions about signing in or score sheets? We should have somebody in the box. It'll either be one of you guys or a sports assistant keeping score, and at the end of the night you'll just write in the score, or at the end of the game you'll write in the score on the score sheet, okay? All right, so illegal equipment. They cannot wear hats while they're playing just because it is a hard build. If they're wearing like a beanie, they're allowed to do that. Why they would wear it inside, I don't know, but if it's a colder night for sand volleyball, they can wear a beanie as long as it doesn't have anything hard on it. So if it has like one of those balls on the top, you know what I'm talking about, on some of the beanies, they can't wear those because that is considered a hard material. No jewelry, as I said. They have to have closed-toed shoes for indoor. As Andy said, he's going to check in for sand volleyball because typically that is played barefoot. So I'm pretty sure we'll still have that barefoot, but stay tuned for that information. No jeans, khaki shorts, they have to be on athletic apparel. And we will play all games on court 6 in the MAC gym. Does everyone know where that is? Yes? No, you do not. Okay. So if you were to come into the MAC gym, go past all the fitness stuff back here and keep walking all the way to the back left corner, that is where our MAC gym is. Court 6 is the furthest court from the front. And that is where we will have practice games on Monday. okay? Any questions about where that is? So if we were to walk through the turnstiles, walk and you see 3 basketball courts, right? And then you take a left and there's all that fitness stuff for about probably 100 steps. You keep walking all the way down, your MAC gym courts will be on your right, okay? Cool. All right, so getting into more volleyball stuff. For players, they need to have 6 players, like standard volleyball. They have to have 4 to start. So if they have less than 4 at the game time, the visiting team can then choose whether or not they want to forfeit the game. And the opposing team can choose whether they want to win or if they want to wait 20 minutes. And that's something our supervisor will take care of. For co-rec, meaning males and females will be playing, it does have to be a 50-50 ratio. If they have 4 players, it is 2 males, 2 females. If it is 5, it's just 3 and 2. Obviously, if an odd number, it's a little bit harder. But it does have to be a plus. It can't be greater than a +1, whether it's male or female. Substitutions, they will typically, we do have team boxes on our MAC gym courts, and so the teams will sit in those boxes. When they want to substitute, they'll just come out, tell the down referee, which we'll go over a little bit later, that they want to substitute, and they need to do this in a dead ball period, so they cannot just during a play run out there and switch. That's when you would kill the play, give a point to the other team, and tell them that's an illegal substitution. All right? Any questions about substituting? Okay? They are going to have to sub to the back center spot, okay? Or no, sorry. Back left spot. So that is where we serve from, the back left spot. That is where they're always going to have to sub to. That way we don't have people skipping out on serving or anything like that. So before we start a game, we're going to have a captain's meeting. We're going to go over some general rules, some regulations we have, whether it's jewelry, amount of people you can have on the court, all those special rules. Maybe if they have a question about what a carry is, that's where you go over it. Once you've answered all their questions, you will have what we call a coin toss. Typically what I say is I ask who's the away team, and I say, do I have an odd or even number behind my back? Because we don't expect you guys to keep coins in your pockets. And then whoever wins, they have the option, they can serve, recede, or choose a side. More times than not, they will choose to serve because, especially in the indoor courts, there's not really an advantage to a side, and not unless they have just terrible servers, they won't want to receive. But you never know. And then if we do play a third game, because we play best 2 out of 3, you'll have to do the coin toss or odd or even again for the third game. Any questions about that at all? The pregame? No? Perfect. Like I said, we play best 2 out of 3. We do play to 21. You have to win by 2. And the first 2 games is capped at 23. So if we get a game where it's 22 to 23, we're going to call that game over. That game's a tie, and we're going to move on to the next game. Okay? Now, if we have 2 games like that, or a game won and a game lost, then we go to the third game. You have to play. You play to 15. You still have to win by 2, but there is no cap because we have to have a winner. There's no like overtime like we do in other sports. It's just you play until you have a winner in that third game. Each team will get a timeout per game, and it's 30 seconds. Typically, I try to ask the captains to make that call, but if they're not on the court at the time, you can get it from anyone on the court. We do play rally scoring, so you do not have to serve to score. Does everyone understand what that means? Okay, so even if I don't serve it, if I hit the ball and it hits the court on the other side or the other team has a violation, as long as I am the winning team in that scenario, I get a point every single time. I do not have to serve there for that to happen. Okay, everyone's good on that because that is kind of complicated. Yeah. Okay. All right. So serving, we will rotate clockwise. Like I said, we'll serve from the back left corner, and they'll rotate this way all the way around. Each person has 5 seconds to serve the ball. Be very lenient about this. Don't be counting your head, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and blow your whistle, because we are out here to let the intramural participants play. We're not out here to over officiate. So unless they are getting really obnoxious about it, be a little lenient. And you won't necessarily call this unless like I said, they're really obnoxious. They're bouncing the ball. They're taking like 10, 15 seconds. That's just to delay a game. They're pushing everyone's night back. If they're throwing the ball up to serve, they can throw it up and let it drop. They can only do that once. So if they throw it, they had a bad toss, they can let it drop and then do a reserve. But they cannot do it a second time. The second time that is a miss serve is the other team's ball, okay? And like I said, they have to serve in the back left, and they have to be any spot behind the end line. So their position may be the back left, but maybe their serves just naturally tail that way. So they want to scoot over to the center, that's fine, just as long as you remember their position's that back left corner, okay? So they can, as long as they're behind that end line, they don't touch it at all before they hit the ball, they're good to go. If they decide, however, that they want to scoot all the way, the sideline's right here, and they scoot all the way outside, and they serve the ball, that is an illegal serve. They have to be within the sidelines, which I don't know why anyone would go outside the sidelines, because that just makes things really complicated, but you never know. All right, so like I said, this is the rotation we have. That is that back left corner. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that's back left. I don't know what the letters mean. But we'll say that's back left. They're gonna rotate this way all the way around, and they are welcome to serve at this spot right here. I think it's left front. Yeah. I'm dyslexic, so it makes more sense to me that that's back left. We're just gonna go with it. All right, hits per side in a rally. So each team gets 3 hits, pretty common sense, general volleyball. One thing that is weird about our rules in co-rec, if there's 3 hits, one of them has to be a male, or it can't be like 3 females hit it or 3 males hit it. One of both genders have to be involved if it's 3 hits. Now if it's 2 or 1, it doesn't matter. It can be 2 males hit it over, 2 females hit it over, 1 male, 1 female. But if we do get that 3 hits, you have to, and it's like 3 females who hit it, because typically in volleyball our females are the ones who are better at the sport. It's just naturally how it happens. You're gonna need to blow your whistle. You just say 3 females hit, other team's ball, other team serve. Okay? That is our one funky rule for intramurals. Blocking, if they're going up for the block and that's in the initial hit, it does not count as one of their 3. So say they go up for the block and it brushes their fingers, it does not count as one of the hits. Yeah, you guys get it right there. I'm not gonna keep going over that. All right, on the first ball over the net, so say someone spikes it and I go to dig it and it hits my arms and hits my chin and goes up, that is not considered a double hit. That's only on the first ball over the net. And that's if it's in one continuous motion. So if I bump it and then set it to myself, it's the first ball over the net, that doesn't count. It has to be one continuous motion. So it's the same like on a serve. If I'm going to, a lot of times you'll see it where it's off the arms and then off the face, or someone just overcorrects and it goes off their arms and shoulder. You'll see some really ugly volleyball in intramurals, let me just tell you. And then for the center line, the only time you're going to call a center line violation is if they cross the line entirely, okay? If they just, say this is the line right here, if their pinky toe is just touching it, you're not going to call it. You're going to call it if an entire foot, entire leg, if their entire body crosses the line, make sure you kill that right away, because they are in the potential to injure someone else on the other side. But unless they entirely cross that line, we're not going to call it. If their middle of the foot is crossing the line, I would consider that entirely over, okay? If the majority of a body part is crossing that line, call it. All right, so we're gonna go over our violations. This is what you guys just filled out. So we're gonna start with a double hit. I did kind of go over it a little bit so you guys get a little help, but are you guys crew 1? Okay, so crew 1, what'd you guys put for a double hit?
It was just like hitting the ball like more than like one
Right. Same person though, right?
Yeah.
So the same person hits the ball twice without someone else hitting it. Cool. Very good. And like I said, the one exception is the first hit over the net. All right, crew 2. Yes, you crew. So, what is the touching the net with any body part while the ball is in play? What violation is that?
Net violation.
Fantastic. Good job. Does anyone have any questions about net violation? It is not just the top tape. We play the whole net in intramurals because we have quite a few people who underestimate how close they are to the net when they go to block or spike, and so they end up taking the whole bottom of the net out. Like I said, ugly volleyball, it happens in intramurals. But even if someone jumps up and their stomach grazes the net, that is considered a net violation. So make sure you are paying attention to that. We'll go over a little bit later whose responsibility it is to watch that, but that is a major part because A, it's a distraction for the other team, and B, technically when the net moves, you're moving into the other team's space. So it is an unfair advantage for the other team. All right, crew 3. All right, what is the center line violation? Right. Is it
Onto the other side.
right? So the full body part. Very good. Like I said, we went over this stuff a little bit earlier just to make sure that you guys got those little pieces like completely over the line. All right. You guys are crew 4. So carry or lift.
Basically, like if you throw the ball, I don't know, if you like hold it.
Right. So a good way to know what a lift looks like, because this is going to be your hardest call in volleyball. Because like I said, I'm going to say it a lot because it's very true, ugly volleyball. Some people the guys will think that if they start back here to spike and throw it straight down on the other side, that's perfectly legal, which it's not. The way we describe it is if you think about your body in 4 quadrants, so splitting myself in half this way and then splitting myself in half this way. If I'm carrying the ball across 2 quadrants, I'm lifting it this way, I'm lifting it that way. I don't know why anyone would hit it that way, but basically if their hand is in contact with that ball for long enough to cross two parts of your body like that, that would be a lift. Basically, if it looks like they're pushing, throwing, or just has a little bit too long a contact with the ball, that's what a carry would look like. But a lot of times your carries are going to look exactly like that. People are going to go to get that last minute ball and hit it up like that. Any questions about that? So that is the long definition. So signs that you're going to look for is that open palm hand. So if they hit the ball with their palm 9 times out of 10, it'll be a carry. Now, obviously on a spike, it's not necessarily going to be a carry. And if it literally just bounces off their hand and it did not stay there for a longer amount of time, technically that's not a carry, but that's very rare that happens. So 9 times out of 10, when you see someone hit the ball, especially with the back side of their hand down, it's going to be a carry.
The other thing she didn't say is if you bring it, you got to divide yourself into technical.
I went over that.
You went over that one, so it's 6
Yeah.
quadrants, not just 4.
Okay.
You said 4 when I wanted.
Okay. So if you go, like you said, going over more than one quadrant, the balls hitting a player momentarily coming at rest. So like I said, that one where the guys catch it back here and they throw it down the other side, or they just kind of fumble with it and it rests on their body for a little bit, that will be considered a carry. And like I said, any push. Any questions about carry? Because like I said, it's going to be the hardest one. Okay, cool. Did anyone see where the carry was? Raise your hand. Yeah, where'd you see it? That girl right here? So yeah, watch her. Not only will that might be Andy, will you be the controller video? So not only that might be a double hit, because I don't know if she necessarily got both hands on the ball at the same time, but her hands are wide open. Literally the signal for carry is this. So she literally did the signal for carry. She hit the ball like that. That's not legal. All All right, so this is the next one.
Right when she had the look on her face, like, all right.
All right, another group. Where did you guys see the carry? Speak up.
White tape.
All right, you guys see that right there? We'll watch it one more time. So that one, he's surprised he saw it. Again, that open hand, you guess what you got to look for. I think we might have one more. Yep. Anyone else? This crew right here, where did you guys see the carry? It's very borderline. Like, if you guys didn't call this one, I would not be mad. The dude in the white shirt again. It's the dude in the white shirt. If you watch him at the end. Right there. That one where he pops it up. Again, that is very close because you could say that it bounced off his hand, but if you watch the ball, it does roll off his fingers, so it is on his hand longer than it hit.
One quick thing right here. Look at this signal. She's like, this is like, I don't know. This is the carry. This is, I don't know what happened. So do it one hand. Just make sure.
We'll go over all the signals and mechanics tomorrow as well. All right. So I already did y'all up here, so coming back up here. What about service violations?
So that is like when you serve and then your foot crosses like the end line.
Okay. Did you guys hear that? When you're serving and your foot touches at all that end line. So I'm talking, that's when the pinky toe comes in. Even if your pinky toe is touching that end line and they're serving before they hit the ball, it is a service violation. That one is also, like I said earlier, when you throw the ball up and let it drop. If you do that more than once, that is also a service violation. And I believe also the 5 seconds is a service violation as well. So all that junk right there.
If they toss it up and catch it, do you want us to count that as?
No, that's when you just say, okay, next time, make sure you let it drop. Because like I said earlier, we want them to play. We don't want to take points away from them unless it's absolutely necessary. So that's when you do some preventative officiating and you say, hey, just so you know, you can only do that once, and next time let it drop to the floor before you touch the ball again, okay? Any questions about a service violation? So you see there, it's the 5 seconds, tossing the ball up, serving and touching the end line. Any questions about that? All right, cool. This is an ugly service violation. Do you guys see that? Almost her whole foot was on the line. So watch her right here. So make sure that is the up ref's responsibility. Like I said, we'll go over that later, but she's supposed, her eyes, she has the best view right there to see that. And there's also one of our supervisors, Allie Lynch, so if you ever see Allie, give her a hard time for that. All right, so screening. This is a violation if the opposite team is just putting their hands up for no reason to block the view of the other team. That is an unfair advantage, and I want you to blow that dead and give a point to the other team, okay? So serving, we already went over. Blocking is allowed from the front players only, so anyone in that back row cannot block, okay? You guys were the last team to go? Or crew, sorry. You guys are number 2. What is an illegal back row attack?
Whenever one of the 3 back rows play in the front row.
Okay. Yes, generally that is a very good explanation. A little bit more specific, we have a 10-foot line in the middle of the court. We'll see it tomorrow night when we go out there. But if anyone in the back row, if their feet start in front of that line when they hit it, so if I'm in the back row and the 10-foot line's there and I jump and hit it and I hit the ball before I land, that is completely legal. But if I start with my feet in front of that 10-foot line and hit the ball and I'm the back row, that's an illegal back row attack. However, if I'm in the back row and I run and I just go and bump the ball, I'm not jumping at all. That is not an attack, so it is not an illegal back row attack. That is only when they're jumping and hit and attacking the ball, okay? Any questions about that one? There's the official, see the 10-foot line? Okay. crew 3, would you guys see? Guy in the orange, yep. So if you see, his feet started right there, and he attacked on the ball technically. So that is an illegal back row attack. Watch it one more time. All right. So another violation is it in or is it out? What constitutes the ball being out of bounds? Was it, so crew 4.
If it lands outside the court, or hits the wall, or hits the net outside of the antennas.
Right. So I like that you brought the antennas in. So we do have antennas on our net. If it goes outside the antennas at all, it is out of bounds. If it touches the antennas at all, it is out of bounds. And then we also have the perimeter lines. If the ball is completely out, so if the ball is touching the line at all when it hits the ground, that is considered in. If it is completely off the line, out of bounds, that is out of bounds. All right, so if we have a double fault, meaning I double hit it and then I double hit it at the same time that you run into the net. So it's opposing penalties, or opposing violations, sorry. We're gonna have a replay. And a replay signal is this is your best friend as a ref. Don't overuse it, but if there's something you absolutely just don't know because you don't have a good vision or somebody was in the way, just give them 2 thumbs up and say, we're gonna replay that one. But if there's a double fault, double violation, simultaneous together, we are going to replay that. We're not going to, even if it's on the same team, correct?
No, it's a fault on the same, 2 faults on the same team, it's not a replay.
Okay, there you go. So if it's opposing violations, we are going to replay that. So playing the ball, like I said, we have 3 hits. If a team hits the ball 4 times, obviously that's going to be a violation. You're just going to hold up your number 4 and give the ball to the other team. Simultaneous contact, meaning we hit it, we both go up, and we hit the ball at the same time. That does not count as 2 hits. That counts as 1 hit. Okay, any questions about that? Perfect. We're going to watch this. Anyone see what went wrong? Yes, sir. Hit the antenna. So as soon as it hit the antenna, she should have killed that play. Plays over. It's the other team's ball.
Nope, sorry.
And just press play for me. So like I said, ugly volleyball, you will get hit as a ref with the ball. Luckily, no one hits it that hard in our intramural leagues. But even if you are a little disoriented, like I'm sure she was, you need to blow your whistle and kill that play, because the play is not over until you blow your whistle. All right, so another violation is playing in the net. We went over this a little bit earlier, but if anyone hits the net while they're playing it, it is a violation. However, if the ball goes into the net, the play is not over. Someone can then dig the ball. As long as they're able to dig the ball, not make contact with the net, not carry it, and hit the ball back towards their team, they're golden. It's rare you'll see it in our intramural leagues. You'll probably see it a little bit more in our women's division. But if the ball goes into the net, they are absolutely allowed to dig the ball as long as they still have that extra hit. So if it's they hit the ball the 3rd time and it goes in the net, obviously they can't hit it again if they do it. So it's a 4-hit violation. But it's really important that when you see people digging the ball out of the net, you're watching to see, did they cross that center line? Did they make contact with the net at all? And an obvious one is, did the ball go back towards their team, or did it go under the net to the other side? Because if it goes under the net to the other side, it's considered out of bounds. Okay? We're going to watch this one. So if you see the girl, when she spiked it, she spiked it into the net. But just because it hits the net doesn't mean the ball's over. So You watch this. When she spikes it, it hits that top of the net, but it still goes over. So it's still completely legal. Okay? All right, so this is gonna be a funky one. We won't have to worry about this for outdoor volleyball, but for indoor volleyball, if the ball hits the ceiling and it comes back on so if I hit the ball up really high and it comes back on my ceiling, I can my side, sorry. I can continue to play it as long as I still have hits left. So if it's the third hit and I hit it straight up in the ceiling, it's gonna be dead ball, next other team's point. But if I still have hits left, I can still play. However, if the ball hits the ceiling and goes out of bounds or on the opposite side, that is considered out of bounds. And that'll happen a lot with our basketball goals because they will be raised, but that is that extra edge where it could hit off and go shoot to the other side. If it shoots to the other side, it's just an out of bounds call, nothing special. And yeah. Same thing. Any questions about that? That one should be fairly obvious. Another one is if it hits the side, the wall, that is considered out of bounds. So it's not the same rule where if you hit it against the wall and it comes back on your side, you can play it. It's not the same rule because the walls are considered out of bounds. And ceiling is only playable if it comes back on your side. We're good on that? Good. All right, so co-rec differences. Like I said, for co-rec, you have to have 3 and 3, and for the ratio, it has to be 50% or +1 if it is an odd number. Obviously, if it's an even number, you can't have that +1 ratio, so it has to be 50-50 male and female. And this is something I'm probably going to have a lot of issues with, just because intramural volleyball is going to be going on the same time as outdoor soccer, and potentially if the season goes long enough, hopefully not, but it could overlap with football a little bit. So it may be harder for teams to get males if there's a male game going on at that time, or a female if there's female games going on at the same time. So we need to make sure we are enforcing the co-rec differences. And like I said, when there's 3 hits, one of each gender has to have hit the ball. Everyone okay on that? Because that is probably the least enforced rule we've had, because people just don't pay attention. Because they're just going, all right, it's a legal hit, we're good. But that's when in co-rec you have to take it a step further and you say girl, boy, girl, we're good. Okay?
Do they have to alternate or can you?
No. So it can be female, female, male, over. And that's when you'll have 2 female hits and you'll have the whole team just screaming, boy, boy, boy. And the girls just spreading and the guys all coming. It's just not pretty. But it'll happen. Just make sure you guys call that. So I'm going to go over something real quick that I did not just say, so you will not get that. You must alternate. And I just gave you the answer, but I'm going to go over it anyway. So you must alternate male, female around the court. So you are not going to have an entire front line of males who are 6 foot and put all your females in the back, because that is an unfair advantage. Or if you have a bunch of females that are 6 foot and you put them on the front line and you have a bunch of 5 foot guys in the back, again, not legal. Has to go male, female, male, female. So I want you guys to look. This is a great example of what should not happen. We have male, male, female, female, female. So this guy should switch with this female over there. It's a little bit harder in when there's an odd number, because you will have 2 females next to each other, or 2 males, depending on which is the greater gender. But just do your best to make sure they're at least staggered, male, female, male, female. Okay? All right. So that's the majority of the violations that you will deal with. We are now going to move into the post-game stuff. So sportsmanship, we do not pay you guys a ton. You get $8 an hour. It's better than some jobs, but that's not enough, in my opinion, for you guys to deal with crap from our participants. So if you have an issue with a participant, this is one way that you get to report that to us. That is also where you need to go talk to your supervisor if you feel like you're being disrespected, because it is a privilege for our participants to play intramurals. It is not something that they just get. And so they don't get to disrespect you guys. That is not why you guys are here. You guys are here to enhance their game. Sometimes they forget that. They think you're out there to get them just because you're wearing stripes. It's not the case. We all know you guys are going to do the best job you possibly can. But with sportsmanship, you're going to rate them from 1 to 5. 1 being absolutely terrible and 5 being perfect angels. You will give this to our sport assistant or to the supervisor who is ever collecting the score sheets at the end of the night. You are going to tell them the sportsmanship rating along with the final score at the end of your game. This has to be done for every single game. If you just forget a game, more than likely Andy and I or one of the program assistants will be calling you the next day saying, hey, what was your sportsmanship rating for this team that you reffed last night? And what are the chances that you're actually going to remember that specific team and every single specific thing that happened? Probably not very likely. Let's just be real. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be the best sportsmanship rating ever. So make sure you do it right then and there to make it easier on everyone. Our supervisor should ask you if you forget, so don't feel like if you forget, it's not going to happen. Our supervisors should remember, especially since they supervise every intramural sport we have, so it's not their first time dealing with it. And if you're just not sure, make sure you are talking with your partner, because you'll never officiate indoor volleyball by yourself. You will be doing outdoor by yourself, so you won't have that added person out there to talk about it. But if you do have the privilege of having another person on the court with you, make sure you talk about it if you're not sure. If you're outdoor and you're not sure, use that resource of a supervisor. Most of them have officiated for us before, so just ask them. And if you have an issue where you just foresee there's that one guy who just keeps giving you a hard time, feel free to ask our supervisor to stand next to you while you're officiating. Don't abuse that, because they do have more important things that they have to do, like attend to injuries, help people sign in. But if you do feel uncomfortable, you can use them as a resource in that scenario. All right, so this is the breakdown. Like I said, 5s are for our perfect angels. This more than likely will not happen. It will happen more likely in volleyball than our other sports, because majority of people that go out there don't know the rules, and it's completely non-contact. It's just a more friendly sport compared to like soccer or football. So you may have it, but it's going to be very rare that you're going to have a team that is completely perfect. More times than not, it'll be the 4 or 3 range, and these are the teams that may have argued a few calls. 4s, they argued, but they're respectful about it, and sometimes they may have asked you just one too many times about a call, so you may feel like they deserve a 4. 3 is if they ask you about several calls, maybe once or twice they weren't very respectful about it. You may have had to use yellow cards. We do utilize yellow and red cards in volleyball. So yellow cards is a warning, red cards is an ejection. This is all for conduct because it is non-contact. Like soccer, we do use our reds and yellows for contact penalties, but since volleyball is non-contact, our cards are just for conduct. So if you feel like someone's being disrespectful, you give them a warning and you tell them, if you get another yellow card, you're going to be ejected. 2s for teams who were just really obnoxious. You gave out yellow cards. Maybe you even gave out a red card and ejected somebody. But if you do have a 2 or a 1, documentation has to happen. You have to tell our supervisor what happened. If you do have an ejection, we will ask you to fill out the ejection report. You give us your side of what happened. Hopefully our supervisor was there and can back up your story. But the reason you have to do that, because in order for that participant to come back in and play in any intramurals for the rest of the time that they're a student, they have to come meet with either Andy or Zach and tell them what happened, and then Andy and Zach will decide if they're going to get suspended, how many games they're going to get suspended, or if it's something that it maybe wasn't that egregious and they'll let them come back in. But they are not allowed to participate again until they meet with them. So they need that piece of information, so when they sit down and they're talking to that person and you wrote in your report that that person called you an MFer, and Andy sits down with them and they're like, I have no idea why I got ejected. I was a perfect angel. I didn't say any cuss words. And then he goes, really? Well, our officials said that you said you called them an MFer. And they're like, oh. well, yeah, I did that. And so it makes his job a whole lot easier. So make sure you guys write that down. And one is when you have a team just completely out of control, this is when you need to get your supervisors close to the game, because if the supervisor feels like the team is completely out of control, they do have the authority to completely end the game and say, all right, you guys are out of control, you lose, the other team wins, game over, move on. Hopefully you guys have done a couple tools, done a couple things since then. So for handling conflict, when you have someone who is complaining about a call and they're saying, oh, that's horrible, they're not directly talking to you, so we don't necessarily think you should address that because they could be talking about the way they're playing. They could be talking about something else that happened, and they very well could be talking about your call, but they are not they're not directing their comments at you, and they're also not using any derogatory terms. So that, we just leave it alone. Now, if they say that's horrible every single play and they say it loud enough for people to hear it, that's when you need to take the next step for a quiet word. But if someone says, you're horrible, are you effing kidding me? Ball doesn't lie, which is taunting. You need to address that, and if they use profane language loud enough for everyone to hear, that is an ejection. And if you feel like you're being attacked by their comments, that it's also a warranted to be an ejection. Okay? But make sure if you do hear something that you think that they should be ejected for, you remember what they said and you write it down. Again, so Andy has that piece of information. But
Language is not always an ejection. Shit is not an ejection. FU is an ejection. MF is an ejection. The F word by itself may not be an ejection. I would always err on the side of let them play and screw up again, and then you can get them for the second one as well. You already dropped this one, then you did it again. You're not learning. You've got to go.
especially let the ones under the breath that maybe you just heard, or you and the person next to you. That's when you use just a quiet warning. Say, hey, I heard your language. Make sure you watch that for next time. Like I said, they bait the opponent at all, they're taunting at all, that is unacceptable. That is an ejection. You probably won't see that in volleyball. But like I said, these are the steps you should take. That quiet word is the first step. This can be skipped if you think it's warranted, if it's egregious enough. But that is that one-on-one. It's a little bit harder when you're the up ref because you have to kind of bend over and talk to them. But it is just a one-on-one saying, hey, watch your language. Hey, I hear you. I'm trying to help you out. Stop berating me on every single call. That's that quiet word. That's enough. This is a public warning. That's when you need to put up the visual signal. That's enough. Put up the stop sign, as Andy says. So you're visually showing everyone that you've had enough with that player, and you're also using your loud projected voice and saying that's enough. That is because we want that player to know we're warning them, and everyone else on the court knowing that that person's behavior is unacceptable. Third step, which I hope you don't ever have to do, but you never know if you do have that one team that's just completely horrible, you will have to do a captain's meeting. This needs to be done earlier, because if you do it at the end of the game, it's a tie ball game. Both teams are amped up. They're not going to listen to a single word you say. So this is something that you need to utilize, I would say, in the first game and a half, maybe at the end of the second game. But as soon as that second game's over, if you're still having issues with them, that captain's meeting, more likely than not, will not be affected. Technical foul, this is a term from basketball, so we do not use technical foul, but this is the red card and the yellow cards. So again, that yellow card is a warning. Please utilize that. Don't overutilize it, but if you feel like someone needs a warning, that can go up here with the public warning. If you feel like they need to be documented, that they need to stop their behavior, you can give them a yellow card. But the technical foul, it still can be a yellow card, but that's when you're starting to lean towards a red card, which is an ejection. So make sure that you guys do utilize all of this. Andy calls this your toolbox for handling conflict. Don't make threats. Andy likes to use the example, when you say one more word and you're gone, what do you think they're going to say? One more word. They're going to be smart butts about it. So make sure that you draw your line in concrete, not sand. It's pretty good because we're at the beach. But you're very strong about where you are, where your line is, and as soon as they cross it, you're going to either eject them, you're going to have a captain's meeting. Make sure every time, no matter who it is, if they cross that line that you've drawn, that you react. Even if your best friend's playing. I have a story. I was officiating a flag football game, and my roommate decided to tie her flags, which is an ejectionable offense in flag football, and I actually ended up having to be the ejecting official. So it's going to happen. Your friends are going to be out there. They're going to be playing these sports. And that is part of wearing those stripes. As soon as you put the stripes on, you are no longer their best friend, their roommate, whatever. You are the official on that game, and you have to lay down the rules and regulations, and you have to have that line in concrete, no matter who they are. Okay? All right, so why don't you guys take like a 3-minute break. We are running a little bit ahead of schedule, so take a 3-minute break, go get water, text whoever you've been dying to text real quick, use the restroom, whatever. All right, so go ahead and finish up those texts real quick, and then we're going to move on. All right, perfect. So next we're going to go over some officiating fundamentals. This is where we'll go over what your officiating sections are, what you're supposed to be looking for as refs, the different responsibilities as up and down refs, and all that good stuff. All right, so first we have our up refs. They're going to stand on the stand. This should be laid out for you by the supervisor, but just so you know, as refs, you are expected to help set up the nets and stand if it is not already set up when you arrive, okay? But the up ref, you're standing up there, you're going to have a whistle on every single play. So more than likely as a down ref, you won't blow your whistle because your up ref should get everything. If they miss something, you should help out your teammate, go ahead and blow it. But you're going to blow your whistle every single serve, dead ball, timeout, any of these violations right here, you'll be blowing your whistle as well. So you're looking for those illegal hits because you have the best view up top. The down ref is going to have to look through players, so you have the best view for those. You're also looking for any violations, whether it's a line violation, service violation, anything like that. And also you're going to look for the serving rotation. Again, you have the best view. You're going to look for net fouls. Typically, we say the up ref gets everything from the middle up, and down ref gets everything from the middle down. But you have that best view, especially when the net starts to shake a little bit. You're going to have the best view to see that because your down ref, as we'll go over later, will be standing behind or on the side of one of these, so they may not always have the best view. Back row attacks, number of hits, that's again, they have the best view. They're going to get those calls when the ball is dead and in play, and they're going to award sides and points. So majority of the time, our up ref will have the whistle. They'll get probably 65 to 70% of the calls, and they'll give the signal and point the direction who gets a point. That doesn't mean you as down ref are just standing there doing nothing. As you see, you are standing on the side of the pole. You need to make sure that you are in a good position to see both sides of the court, so you don't need to be hiding behind it. You need to make sure you're standing a little bit in front of it. As you can see, Barnes is right here. That way you can see the whole court. You're only going to blow your whistle on something that you see, but the ref does not see. So that means if you see a violation, you don't immediately blow your whistle. You're going to give your up ref that chance to make that call. You wait 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, they still haven't done anything. That's when you come in as a down ref and blow your whistle. And that's okay to have a late call on those. We don't want something that's like 20 seconds, 15 seconds later. But if you're 5, 6 seconds later and you're making that call, as long as you are right, you're making the correct call and you're helping your partner out, we like those kind of calls. So don't think that a late call is a bad call. You are also going to repeat all the signals of the referee. So like I said, you're not just standing there. You're going to be watching them. Make sure you mirror them. And don't point. Make sure you are actually paying attention. I can't tell you how many times I've seen down refs point the opposite direction of the up ref. So they're giving point to the opposite team because the scoreboard is right behind you. So more often than not, the scorer is watching you as a down ref. And so if you're giving the wrong signal and pointing the wrong direction, more likely than not, the score will go to the wrong team. So make sure you are paying attention to that up ref. You're going to watch, like I said, net fouls from probably around there down. You're going to watch that center line foul that we talked about. Remember, it's got to completely cross it. And you're going to control subs. So if you see it back here in the background, those are our team boxes. And this end opening right here is where the players will come out of. They'll come out. They'll ask you to sub. You'll hold up your hand, say sub, let them go in. And as soon as they are back in the box is when you'll let the up ref resume play. And they can only do that in dead ball periods. You also will control timeouts. Again, you're on the floor. You're going to probably get more communication from the captains than the up ref. And you're going to confirm the score at the end of each match. So, like I said, the score is behind you. So if you see that the score is wrong, it's your job to turn around and correct them. And at the end of the game, you need to make sure that you go to the scorer's table and you make sure that they have the correct team winning. All right, so line coverage. This is our up ref right here, and because they are higher up, they have a better view of the entire court. They will get the whole line that they're on and both end lines. And you as a down ref, the only thing you're responsible for is this line right here. However, if you are the up ref and a ball lands right there, technically speaking, that's close to the down ref's line, but it is very obvious that it's inbounds. Don't wait for your down ref to make that call, because if it's obvious, you should be making that call. But if you're the down ref and you know that it's a close call, make sure you're selling that. So if the ball lands like right here, don't wait for your up ref to do it. So both of you guys need to be proactive. Does that make sense? So if it's obvious, our up ref needs to be calling stuff on this line. But if it's questionable, that is that down ref. If your up ref is reaching, meaning they call something that's questionable because they think that they have the best view of it, and you know for sure that they're wrong, you absolutely can't override them. Now, that doesn't mean you do it disrespectfully. That doesn't mean you shout it across the court saying, hey, nope, you're wrong, it's the other way. That's when you say, hey, time out, and go talk to them. Make sure you talk to them about why it's wrong, correct them, and then let them correct it. Okay? So then they'll say, all right, never mind, it was out of bounds, this side's point. Okay? So make sure you're very respectful. You're not throwing your teammates under the bus. This is areas of coverage. So if the ball's on this side of the court, your up ref is going to be watching this side to make sure they have the correct number of hits. No one's doing a back row attack, none of that stuff. They're also going to get that top of the net. And then you as a down ref, you're not really watching any of this stuff. You're watching the bottom of the net, the center line, and you're watching that line of people who are blocking. Because you're going to need to see if they are hitting the net at all, if they're double hitting it, or any of that stuff. You need to, that's what you're watching. So really, as a down ref, you should not be ball watching at all. So if we see you doing this as a down ref, we know you're ball watching and you're not watching your area. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that center lane. And this is just the same thing flipped. Okay? All right, so before and during the serve, the ref's job is that server and that server only. Because they need to make sure that A, it's a legal serve, which basically means they hit it once. They need to make sure they're behind that line when they hit the ball, or if they're doing a jump serve, they jump before that line and they hit it before they land on their feet again. During a rally, the ref's job is to watch the top of the net and the offense, like we said, and the umps, which is our down ref, watches the bottom of the net, violations, and all of our blockers. Any questions about coverage? Because again, that's very important for us to get the whole court covered. No questions? Okay. So you see this up ref, her job is to watch that line, like I said earlier. And that down ref, her job is to watch the defense, and as soon as the ball is hit, she's watching this bottom half, and this ref is getting all the play. Okay? This should never happen where you have a whole foot over the line and it gets served over. You should have the perfect spot, the perfect point of view. You have a time where someone serves it and there's a player in the way and you're the up ref, you absolutely can ask that player to step to the side a little bit in the next play. So if you see, this down ref just mirrored the up ref, so watch both of them. That looks awesome because not only did they do the same signals, they did it together. And that team has no question, A, because they saw the ball stay in bounds, but because both refs were in agreement on that call. That's exactly what we want. All right. So, if you you watch this ref right here. She's just like, I don't know, I didn't make that call. We'll see. And then they kind of just guess. First of all, don't blow your whistle until you're absolutely sure what you saw. Don't guess. Secondly, if you don't know and your partner doesn't know, remember, utilize that replay. If you blew your whistle and then you realize 2 seconds later, oh, I really shouldn't have blown my whistle, you can say replay. Now, if you're calling replay on every single time you blow your whistle, you're going to lose all your credibility. But utilize that call. Also, you can take the 15 seconds, walk over to your partner, ask them a question or talk to them about something real quick and walk back. We do have 45 minutes for a volleyball game. Typically, they use anywhere from 25 to 35 minutes. So you do have that 10 minutes that you can utilize. I'm not saying have a 10-minute conversation, but you should have a little bit of buffer time to where you can do those things maybe 2 or 3 times a match if necessary to make sure you get the call right. All right, so setting up the court. If you can see, I know it's kind of hard to see, but right here there's an M and right here there's a W. That's because this is for the men's height and this is for the women's height. If we play on co-rec, however, we do play on the women's height. That way everyone's able to participate on the higher plays, the spiking, blocking, and all that stuff. So women's and co-rec will be at the notch 25. You're going to put it, Andy, is it where that hole is, or so the hole is still showing?
It's a hole, should be showing.
Right, so it's like this. So you're going to have the peg go into the hole that's down here. That way M is right above the rim of the pole, okay? And you need to make sure that the net is as tight as possible. We will have hand cranks out there for you guys to use. You will also learn how to set up a volleyball net tomorrow, so if you don't know how, don't feel like you're not qualified, because we will absolutely show you how to do it tomorrow. And make sure all the strings are as tight as possible. And make sure you have those pads around the poles. Those things suck to run into. And so we do put those paddings on to protect our participants. And then make sure that the antennas, when you're setting it up, you're going to be setting it up on one side of the net. And you're going to be looking to make sure it lines up with that line, because that is going to be your out of bounds line that goes straight up. So make sure you are paying attention to that when you're setting those antennas up. Okay, so we've done everything that's either general volleyball or indoor volleyball. Now we're going to go into a couple differences that we will have in sand volleyball. Sand volleyball, we will not have practice games, just so you know, so we will go straight into sand volleyball. You will be reffing by yourself. We don't have a stand, so you will just be a down ref. And this season won't start immediately. It'll start in probably 2 weeks. So registration ends for sand volleyball on Monday. I probably will make the schedule by Friday, and it'll probably start the following Monday or so. That's a rough estimate. If it doesn't happen to that exact timeline, sorry, you know Irma's coming. You never know what's going to happen. All right, so obviously before sand volleyball, you need 4 players. You can start with as few as 3, so it's a little bit less wiggle room than we do for indoor volleyball. Co-rec is not with 6 players, it is with 4 players. That is a typo. It is 2 males, 2 females. You can only have a +1 ratio, so if you have 3 males and a female, they're going to have to play with 3 players because they're going to have to do the 2 male, 1 female, or vice versa. There cannot be more than +1 of a single gender on the court. Okay? Substitutions, need to make sure that you tell them they have to come to you to be able to sub in. Especially since you're going to be the only ref on the court, so you're going to be on a specific side, and they're probably going to be on the other side. So they're going to need to walk all the way around to you, come to you saying, I want to sub, and then go in. Make sure you guys are controlling that. It's best 2 out of 3. All games are played to 15. They are a little bit quicker. However, there is no cap. You have to win by 2. So it could potentially still be like a 20-point game. You never know. Sand volleyball is a little bit, you think, like I said, indoor volleyball is bad. And then you go out and you add sand to it, and people diving and less people on the court. You see a little bit more interesting stuff. It is rally scoring, again, just like indoor volleyball. One thing we want to encourage, like I said, sand volleyball is a little bit more sloppy, and you're the only ref out there, so it's okay if a little bit more is being let go. Now, that's not saying you should just be out there to rule on the obvious stuff. We still want you to officiate. However, if you don't always get the right carry call, you don't always get the top of the net calls because you're on the ground, that is not a huge deal. Don't beat yourself up about it, because we do realize that sand volleyball is a little bit sloppier, okay? All right, so each team will rotate clockwise, just like indoor volleyball. They are allowed to do a square or a diamond. We do have a picture on the next slide that'll show you that. So either way, either formation they're allowed to do. Same thing with serving. They've got 5 seconds. Same rule. They can throw the ball up once, let it drop. When they're serving, they can only do that once. The second time results in a loss of serve, other team's point. They are, again, allowed to serve from any spot behind the end line. So as you see, a lot of the stuff is similar to indoor volleyball, but this is the formation, so they can do 4 just like that. You will see a lot more of our experienced teams using this because a majority of the balls will go to the center of the court. So I would say you'll probably see this more often than that, but you never know. Both are legal. All right, so like I said, for co-rec, it is 4 players, 2 and 2. We have to have that 50% ratio. And make sure, just like in indoor, they all are alternating, male, female, male, female. And don't be afraid to stop the game to correct a team. Don't just say, oh well, I'll get them on the next game. Make sure you are correcting those little things, because it could be an unfair advantage to have 2 males in the front or 2 females on either side to get the middle play. Yes, ma'am.
So if they're using the diamond instead of the rectangle, would that be like female, female, male, male?
No, so if you think about it, they're still rotating clockwise.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're still rotating clockwise, so it would have to go female, male, female, male, or male, female, male, female. So technically it's a square, so they're always going to be somewhat next to each other.
Okay.
But as long as they're alternating in the rotation.
So like kind of in the middle, that can be like 2 guys or 2 girls?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you're right. Yep. Okay. Any more questions about co-rec or rotation? All right. Questions?
Is there a back row attack in sand volleyball?
We won't have that 10-foot line. Any other questions? We do have tomorrow where we'll go over a little bit more specifics. All right, so like I said, tomorrow we will be up here again at 6:30. If you have any conflicts with that whatsoever, the 6:30 to 9, make sure you're letting Andy know so you still get credit and you still get put on the schedule. And then practice games right now, it's September 11th, not September 12th. Right now they're that date. We'll see what Irma does. We may have to postpone that, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on an email from Andy. Obviously, if we evacuate campus, we won't still have it. But that will be most likely more like 6:30 to 10 because we didn't have a huge registration. But he will sign you up for that, and you will get some court time with a supervisor who has ref volleyball before, standing behind you, talking you through all the signals, all the stuff. So we won't throw you out there the first night on your own. Cool? And do you have anything else for them before they go?
Yes, I am. Thanks. Sorry. As some of you may have seen already, there's a state of emergency issued starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the state of North Carolina. What that means for us is there's a lot of activities that may or may not take place over the next